Agile has the most whinging because the whinging is really valuable. We have these retrospectives where we're trying to actually gather the whinging in. Now, in a DevOps world, the entire idea is we want to take lean product management, we want to take CI/CD in a systems context, and we want to take Agile delivery, we want to bolt them together to have all part of this complete crest. So we really should all be whinging.
That didn't really argue for your case.
All right. Well, Agile guys wins the most because it's good.
Talk to the executives.
So, I get Agile, I get lean, but what's the difference between DevOps and CI/CD? Why do we need both?
So that's a lovely question. I don't think that there's really a hard and fast distinction. I think it's more that CI/CD is a critically important part of DevOps, quality automation, process automation, production support, the connection of all of those things back to product management. So if we don't have the people who have the cold face informing our product management decisions, if we don't get our technical authorities to do as much whinging, as much negative feedback, and inform our product management decisions as they can do, and represented continuously, lots of little feedback loops, well, then we can't actually get the benefit that we expect, the market impact that we expect, the quality of service that we expect. That all comes from negative feedback. No machine in the world has ever been able to run properly on just positive feedback. So if we think what's the difference, it's more a matter of how do these pieces fit into one overall cycle with a whole bunch of quick-built feedback loops that make it up, and a whole bunch of parallel feedback loops that allow us to explore new alternatives. That's really where DevOps shines. If we think about DevOps in a Phoenix project kind of sense, DevOps is basically bringing theory of constraints, throughput to the table, saying that if we don't think in terms of business throughput, then I really mean operating expense plus net profit, that kind of throughput. If we don't think in terms of those as the top line, and then how do we drive that back to, all right, well, what do our priorities mean in that context? Then we're only looking through a little peephole. What we really want to think is how we think first around all these things, and how we bring them together. I know we're going to get the benefit. It's got to be a top line benefit.
You pitched before, haven't you?
I'm just thinking about it.
So just some context of this, right? I know we can all do the convoyage, bring it all together, all of this is important. But just for the reason I want the conflict is when you get to the floor, as experienced Agile practitioners and Lean and CI/CD and DevOps, we all know it all goes together. But when you go on the floor, you see that people don't think it does. So the concept here is deliberate conflict to bring them together.
You want the dark side.
I want the bad stuff. So
Okay.
you just gave me the kumbaya, hug it out, yoga feel stuff. I don't want that.
Right, so I have a question that you could answer in relation to DevOps, right? So in terms of Michael's question there about who whinges the most, in my relatively short practical experience, DevOps whinges way more than anybody else, right? Because it's so hard to do. And what do you mean I have to fix it? I just code it. So tell me why I bother, right? It's just, have you heard it?
My word. Yeah. So, all right, I've got to answer for a dark side context. All right.
So answer and take all them out when you do it.
Oh, okay. All right. So I'm going to start by taking myself out, because I think the idea that DevOps sucks is actually a really, really strong meme. Why does it suck? Well, because we have a whole bunch of people that we've told are empowered. You are now DevOps, and you can do anything. What does anything mean? Anything means you can get up at 3 in the morning, and and when you expect to get some support from the Agile guys, they won't be there. That's okay. You are empowered to do what they're not doing. But we win a lot because 3 in the morning it makes us irascible. Anger leads to fear, leads to the dark side. So that's the okay. Then we've got CI/CD, right? Now the trouble with the CI/CD thing is this is a machine. But everybody else is feeding into the machine, but this is a machine. We're trying to turn it into a practice. CI, continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment. We would love to have a beautiful, well-oiled machine. But what it really means is I get up at 3 in the morning. And someone spends a bit of time tinkering with the build agents and so on, and they can make certain that little cloud is all doing what, but the actual cloud, the real production cloud, 3 in the morning. And then the lean guys, well, so it's all a big bill of goods on lean. There's Lean Six Sigma, there's lean manufacturing, there's lean software development, there's lean startup. What does lean mean? Lean means we want to get rid of the waste. All right, well, why don't we start with those Six Sigma coaches? So am I talking about perfect? Look, I think that part of the problem is that we actually have a lot of lean concepts turn up in Agile. People just don't know how to read them. You look at a burnout chart, you can see your Muda, your Muri, your Mora, you can see them right there in terms of the way the curves work, but no one talks about it. If we think about overburden, what does it mean? Well, it means that we got the head on our burnout chart, and then we fell back to that diagonal line. Why don't we talk in this? Because we don't fully live. We don't actually think that these are all bits and pieces of one beautiful DevOps picture.
Executives?
Well, actually, the trouble is, Lean leaves out all the gold wrap print mechanics stuff. Lean does deal with constraints, but it doesn't think in terms of the bottleneck, the theory of constraints. There is always one key constraint, the bottleneck. And if you're working on anything else, you're wasting your time. But Lean tries to optimize everything. It doesn't focus everything on the bottleneck and relax the others.
No, it is not. But we continue to look at where your maximum bottleneck is. And try to look at the other way. Where is your
it's like temperature optimization software. You need to actually focus on the bottleneck. Otherwise, that's wasted work. So actually, Lean, in that sense, premature optimization is actually
Premature.
It's not premature. Throughput can happen when where you're getting your maximum bottlenecks. If you can reduce that place, you're probably going to get a better flow. You're going to get low value.
Speaking from a DevOps context, I completely agree with you.
DevOps has not happened before Lean. Right? Lean was started, and everything is actually a fallout of Lean concepts.
Well, actually, that's where we have a slight problem as well. You see, Lean is a Western adaptation of Toyota production system. The Toyota production system, a lot of the stuff we talk about in Lean, like Kanban.
Are you saying that Toyota production system based on DevOps?
No, I'm saying it's not Lean. So, look, what I'm really saying, and I'm going to take off the black hat for a second. What I'm really saying is that we're setting up a whole bunch of arbitrary conditions between things that you could really. Exactly. So really, if we think there's some strength on the DevOps / throughput accounting side, and it bolts really nicely into the Lean world, and we need the Agile stuff because it's efficient collaboration. And CI/CD, actually, we need the experts to make certain we can take the requirements we are getting by working in a Lean way with our product managers and express them as quality automation and process automation. Critically important as well. Part of this complete record.
More coaches, you're expensive.
Well, that's another beautiful part of DevOps is that we don't really want a bunch of coaches. We want learning by immersion. Because the more external advancement seats we have, the worse things are. DevOps is all about. Now, we want the capability in-house. Thank you very much.
All the focus is on sustainability. So as long as you can make the process or the teams, the way they're working is sustainable, you don't need a coach. Right? So,
Thanks, Chandler.
Well, we coached you until you don't need a coach.
that's right. So you continue to coach until you become sustainable.
If you are dependent on the external forever, then they're not doing it.
So just before you say Lean was built on DevOps.
I was asking.
They play nicely.
Business?
But DevOps includes the gold record, so it's not fun to be vision.
Okay, let's go back to the business. Yeah, give us a score.
I like the black hat.
Yeah, let's stay more with the black hat.
I did, but not quite as much as the CICD.
Let's go to James. All right, so let's go to the same question. If you had to kill one practice, budget constraints, which
I'm going to let him finish the question, and I'll keep staring at you. Sorry, what was the question?
If you had to kill one practice because of budget constraints, which one would it be and why?
That's a hard one. Really, really difficult.
Don't look at me.
That is a hard one. I have to be nice to them because they're going to give me my scorecard. Oh, that's actually a really hard one.
Did you want to go to Canada first?
No, yes, but no. I mean, to be honest, no. I'm going to say CICD. Spikes. No, look, I actually find this one is really, really challenging because actually, no, I'm going to pick DevOps. I'm going to pick DevOps, and this is why. So, a lot of the misconstrusions that I see in DevOps today is DevOps is really being pushed back to tool sets. And every organization that I go into, and they go, we're going to go DevOps. And then you get in there, and every person has a different tool and a different sort of operating system that doesn't talk to one another. And at lunch, they're going to go talk to someone about bringing in new tools that they're going to do really new fandangled things, which will then make it another 6 months before the business can get anything out to production. And for me, it's really frustrating because I do look at it and go, there really is an industry standard. Like when we look at CI/CD, there really is an industry standard set of tools that are more than stable to build on, have more than enough flexibility to actually grow out and to do everything you need to be flexible for the next 5 years, even the next 3 years, and then they would have expanded anyway, just as the industry needs change. But every time someone talks to me about DevOps, and I'm sorry, I say this in the DevOps code, but every time someone talks to me about DevOps, they go, I've got a really great brand new tool. And admittedly, some are really, really great. I look at some and go, I hope they make it because they will change the industry. But probably 95% of them, I look at and just think it's just going to cause more noise and more problems. Sorry, Peter. Soz, not soz. If I get another question, though, you're next.
Business?
Yeah. So if you want to kill DevOps, do you really want to kill culture? Because through DevOps you bring cultural change.
But we can also bring them through Agile.
How?
So what we're really looking for is we're looking for people that want to actually take things on board. They want to grow. They want collaboration. But people really want to own what they do. The biggest part of Agile is you own what you do. You want you to be self-empowered. So you actually feel like you own it. And a big piece of DevOps is, yes, you build what you own when you build. But in Agile, we really do have the same fundamental concepts of we're here because we want you to own what you build. You build this business. You know, like Macquarie Bank, for example. Macquarie Bank is built by its people. Teams are the ones on the floor that actually create the product that then interface with the customer. So it really is the people on the face of the business.
It's not really a question, but I kind of just wanted you to respond to that. So just what you're talking about there, right? So it strikes me that it's quite nice to Agile, right?
I have a feeling I know what you're going to say.
Your mic's just gone shutting up. Or not? Yeah. Or not? I was back. I'm back. It was just me and the technology. So So it strikes me that in terms of ownership, kind of Agile wants you to own what you do, right? And DevOps forces you to own what you do. At least the way I've seen it implemented. So, on that basis, which one would you go with first? Thinking of a vision as a business.
Which one would I pick first? I think the piece of ownership is generally really missed in Agile. So immediately I would say it should be there in Agile. 9 out of 10 implementations that I see, it's not. And that is a massive, massive challenge. DevOps really does play a role in that, where it is, when DevOps comes in, it is really forced and no, you have to be responsible. But Agile is also meant to do the same thing. But it's just one of those things that I don't see very often. So in one way, yes, you could go without the other, because the first should bring it. But do I ever see that? Not really, because it's not many people want to go and have those very uncomfortable conversations, I guess, where it is, you're going to sit there and say, hey, fantastic, you delivered 40 story points this sprint, amazing work, none of it's going to be accepted. It's rubbish, we got problems, we got all this stuff. Back to the drawing board, let me go. And many people don't want to have that, because straight away the team's like, oh, the building's on fire and the coach is blah, blah, blah. And, you know, it was the reason World War II broke out. So it really, I do find it becomes a bit of a trade-off, where in Agile, you can either really go part and parcel for it, and it might get some people offside, but DevOps is sort of very nicely fits into the process of what DevOps is. It is more accepted that way.
I'll help you out.
Can I put this on memory next?
You can. You're going to even have the microphone.
Thank you. So, there. It's kind of a chicken and egg question, but it doesn't have to have a chicken and egg answer. So if we were to think about defining a slender steel threaded capability involving lean product management, agile delivery, and DevOps, and just a few people in each, maybe using a hotfix platform to be able to get something tonight. So maybe a dozen people, and you could just think about small changes to begin. We did this fine properly, we instrument with metrics and then certainly improved footing. And now we want to do is split it, we want to increase the capability of being more business into it. We can actually do a transformation that works like that, and it grows exponentially because we're splitting and doubling. And that way we don't have to answer the question, well, which layer do we start in? We can say, oh, well, what we're doing is developing new capability, we're not trying to change the existing teams or programs. And that way we can actually use Agile to roll out Agile. So I think James is back on the money that Agile is actually a beautiful way to do this. If we think about how we would think around what the definition of done is for getting various kinds of change stories to land or the growth of those steel threads to iterate, then we can actually use Agile to guide the whole thing.
So one more thing I think we kind of keep forgetting is when we're talking about Agile, right? We're talking about single teams. So when we talk about an organization as big as very other big organizations, it's about scaling Agile. When we're talking about scaling Agile, all these practices will come together. It cannot happen all in its own. So you definitely need Agile for single teams. You need the product development for product side. You need the lean software development and Kanban for the operation side of things, so that they can look at where their work is coming, how the unplanned work is getting managed. You need CI/CD for continuous delivery at a scale. And DevOps will actually bring everything together at the end user side, production side. So it all fits in together. However,
you're all becoming very loving again.
Scaling is not the problem. The problem is descaling the organization.
Okay. I'm going to bring it back to a typical question. You're on a ship. Actually, it's a ship of delivery, okay? got a database delivery.
Yes. Okay.
You've got yourself,
Yes.
the lean house.
Yes.
You can save one other practice to help you hit your date. Who would it be and why?
I guess it will be DevOps. The reason I'm saying is, if we continue with lean practices, lean product development, or Kanban, we can use that to look at how the delivery is getting done from the beginning to the end, from concept to cash, right? But we need some processes, some practices to be able to deliver to the end user what we are trying to do. Even if lean will actually bring in certain set of processes and practices that people have to follow. If they don't, it gets very visual. Everybody can see things are not working. So the accountability gets in there. DevOps will have CI/CD already built in, and that's my understanding. So if you consider that, then even if we don't look at Agile, the mindset of the lean mindset already builds in that Agile mindset.
You're not saving it.
No, I'm not saving him.
Okay.
Right? But what I'm trying to say is that with just with lean and DevOps, you can continue to have your delivery at scale in a faster way or in quality and be successful. Right? So that's the practical aspect of it.
Okay. So the business.
So sorry, the only comment there was that you said that DevOps includes CI/CD. So these guys can sit together now, right? Because it's just one thing.
Yeah.
Do we think that's true? You can be DevOps without CI/CD, surely.
Yeah. It's Agile. So we're going to say
on DevOps
we're
is
going
more
to
of a
say
subset of Agile.
we're going to say that DevOps is operations coming into the team, and CI/CD is by itself, for the sake of the exercise. So you can't do your looping, Chandra. Artificially bring.
I think you were just having everything but Agile then.
Well, so then I will answer. If we have that understanding, everybody has the same understanding. So even in the old world, we definitely had different sets of. I know I'm digressing from.
What are you saving?
2 people have to die, Chandler, and it's all on you. Don't do it, it's a trap. It's a trap.
Well, if the ship is crashing, I don't have to look at faster delivery. I just have to make sure delivery happens.
So who are you saving?
So I'm probably going to still say DevOps.
It's all right, we'll find a way to get that.
So, taking that thread a step further, what's my role in DevOps world?
Feedback. So the feedback set.
You're just delivering.
No, you still even in lean, you get feedback. You do get feedback, and even in DevOps, it depends on feedback. So even if developer and an operations guy work together, the product and the business guys have to tell us what works for them. That's where the circle gets completed. So the feedback comes from business where they think is the most value.
Don't worry, Mike, you know, Joe would love you to want the conversation.
Actually,
So to make it
replace you with analytics, don't worry.
I didn't say that.
So what we're going to do is we're going to go across, let each of them save one person, and then you can choose which one that you would choose to keep on in your business. CI/CD. So you've got a delivery. You can only save one of these practices. Which one are you going to keep and why? And you can say why you don't keep the other one if you want.
I'm going to save lean. And if I like to the other two. Right. So you have a CI/CD already. We can help you guys to make sure to deliver faster, couple times fail, or as many as you want, right? So whatever you want, we can get that to you, right? And your people can work in a very smooth way. Why I want to save lean? So the thing is, how would you know what's the best thing to build? Right? We have an engine. So potentially you are driving a Mercedes very fast to a wrong direction. We don't want that to happen, right? You might as well ride a bicycle so you can save yourself from the tragedy a little bit, slower. But Lean can help you to actually adjust the direction, right? Are we going to head over there, or are we going to head into the water, right? So Lean can help you to do that. And the thing is, a lot of times, they probably know you know the best, right? Like, we all think we know the best. We have this fantastic idea in the shower, and that will be it. That will be the one who save our business. But Lean folks, they can actually help you to examine your process, your data, your metrics to actually validate whether that's going to be true or not. Of course, with the CI/CD, we can very quickly validate in the market around the assumptions. So if you have two of us, you are, that's it, right? You will be leading in the market, and you will be, doing all the award, getting all the customer. Life is good. I don't really know what those two are doing, but cost center. With Agile DevOps, because the market hot potato world, you have just keep those two of them, and just so people say, are you doing Agile? Yeah, we have Agile coach. You're doing DevOps? Yeah, we have DevOps people. So making sure you have all that. Yeah, but other than that, we are the one who help you do the real work.
Business.
Yeah. I'm wondering why we're bothering with the Agile now.
I'm wondering if I made some very poor life decisions earlier on.
So some feedback. Questions in the business. There's a mic there.
Does anybody else want to ask a question, by the way? Oh. I like audience participation.
I'm an Agile coach as well.
Was.
What I want to know is, we have DevOps and Lean coach together. In Agile, we try to bring everyone together, working collaboratively. That's what DevOps pitches, like bringing dev and operations together. We also do continuous integration and continuous delivery, and that's the reason why we have a shorter, sprint cycle, so that we can integrate continuously and deliver it to business. And I also understood that DevOps is not just about tools. Then what is that DevOps does that Agile doesn't?
All right, so I'm going to give you a grey head answer.
But then you have to answer the other question, or do you say it?
Okay, well, for a start, I'm going to say Agile.
Yes, finally, someone saving me.
These two, we'll explain why. It's not that we want to ditch them, it's just that Agile is going to bring them back anyway.
No.
There's a reason
cheating.
why.
No, feet up.
But as ghosts.
So I got concrete slippers for both of them.
Yeah, it's not ghosts sometimes. All right, so I started
bringing it back.
I started in extreme programming in 1998. We had this principle called test-driven development, and this thing called continuous integration, and this thing called collective ownership. These are all part of Agile from the word go. All of this stuff, the idea that DevOps invented, no, the CI/CD somehow just magically invented this. So no, we actually started out with these guys. So we can throw them off the boat and let's let this, that's okay. but we're going to bring them back as they're just part of us anyway. So they're ghosts and like that. Look, I'm not saying that if we think about, well, why do we have DevOps? Is it something that is actually different, or is it just Agile and more in DevOps clothing? It is different. And it's different because it's emphasizing the idea of the whole end-to-end. If we think about the Agile Manifesto, it's just about IT. So when we think about business agility, it's Agile. But it's coming from the idea of that those three ways in the Phoenix project that we really want to have end-to-end. And so it's not enough to just think, okay, we are going to have our little Agile delivery team delivering stuff and getting story points and all that stuff. No, we really have to think about How do we do the round trip? How do we do the broad part of this, which actually comes from Lean, where we've got the set-based design, set-based engineering. And by plugging those things together, we're doing something that's a bit more than the original Agile vision. But whether they call it DevOps, whether they call it business agility, whether they call it Excelling, doesn't really matter. What matters is, are we bringing in practices that are solving our problems, real problems, that are actually addressing real risks? Or are we doing things because someone's waving a flag with a capital A on it? If it's the latter, if that's what an Agile is, then throw the flag away and care about Agile, in which case these guys are right. Get rid of it. Sorry, goodbye. But if we think about Agile a little, I think, well, actually that fits into all of this stuff. So I know this is the kumbaya, I'm sorry. So if I want to give a black hat answer.
Black hat answer, please.
Okay, so yeah, Agile actually was a flawed vision to begin with, and DevOps is really bringing the meat and this is bringing the real benefit. And so Agile was kind of a half DevOps. It was the motivation for DevOps, but now we do it properly. We've got autonomy. We've got not just continuous delivery, but we've got continuous product management. So taking the lean lessons and applying them to little rapid loops, but nothing to do with Agile delivery. All of the principles in the Agile Manifesto are all irrelevant to that. I don't really believe the black hat version of this, but nevertheless, that's like this.
Your question time, you're going to get out of that easy.
So if you're telling me that we already do this, what do I get?
Well, you don't get anything. Like I said, you get replaced with analytics, so you're gone. What we want self-organizing teams and self-managing streams. Now, the first person I told that to kind of fired me when I was doing Agile in 1998, and I realized that was a pretty poor answer. So the better answer is actually you get to become a servant leader. You get to try and accelerate the flow of learnings for the organization. And that includes the feedback, but it also includes how do we get little Agile teams to go on together in streams? Well, we've got a bunch of answers that come from all of these things. So what you get is accelerated flow of learnings, which accelerates workflow for all of the streams, and workflow accelerates flow of value to market, as long as you are doing your job and prioritizing properly.
In the back.
Right?
In the back.
Well, no, front and center. You get plugged in directly. If the business systems working directly with the teams, lean product management and Agile delivery and DevOps, that we don't have really tight loops, then we're not doing this stuff properly.
Feedback or time to move on? Move on? Back to James? So I think we've got to get to Chandler, right? Yeah. Okay. So you know the drill. You got to throw two of them overboard. Keep one.
They're all just picking on me because they wish they were me. It's what I'm going with. Oh, it's personal. Look, I will say, I've never had a really good lean steak, so lean's out. CI/CD, yeah, just not really interested. I can play solitaire. The one I'd probably keep is DevOps.
Oh, I really don't know. This is not the European.
Reason being, in Agile, we really want to focus on actually making teams high-performing teams, and we really want to focus on a culture where people actually feel safe, they're high-performing, last one, not least, they're happy. In DevOps, it really is about how do we get two different sides of the business and actually bring them together and start getting a really stable product out the door consistently. So you're right, we might not be able to deploy 20,000 times a day like Google does using CI/CD. We might not be as waste mindful as what we were if we were just purely with pushing lean. And you know, we might have manual processes, but we wouldn't be up at 3 o'clock in the morning because we know we have quality that goes out the door, and we'll have happy teams that really want to deliver.
the question?
You want the question again? All right. So you got to do a delivery, right? You basically can afford to save one team, one practice. The other two have to go. Which one do you keep, and why do you get rid of the other two?
No one else got a 10, so you pretty safe.
I think I already answered the question. I said DevOps.
You did? Okay. All right. All right. Well, we've only got 3 minutes left, so I'm going to give you a reasonably easy one. Okay. Let's go with which practice do you think wins the most?
Oh, sorry, Peter, I wasn't pointing at you. Oh, no, Peter.
I think it is DevOps. Although the reason that I think DevOps reaches the most is because of the wall that has been built through the years between IT and the dev and the ops operations teams, and the separation of responsibilities that they have come to understand as a given, as an assumed thing that okay, once it moves to production, then it's not our responsibility. So just breaking that barrier itself is very, very tough in organizations. Even in organizations that consider themselves very agile, it becomes really hard when actually you have a production issue and you're trying to figure out what's going on maybe middle of the night, 3 o'clock, and you don't get the right people on board. So the very practical scenarios, if I look at, DevOps is where you get the maximum hit rate. Why is that guy coming and telling me that it's my problem? It's his problem to solve, right? Why is he taking his salary? Why is etc. etc. So you get that, right? So it's DevOps binges. If we can always improve on it, we can use lean practices or agile practices or CI/CD, but DevOps is where you have to focus the most when you're actually looking to get stuff into the market with the right quality and the right balance.
So I just have one more question to the business. Would you be able to go through each practice and tell us from a business perspective how it's seen?
Oh, God. I want to cut that.
Yeah. So this is from my personal experience, just in terms of how this leasing is being sold. I'm thinking from a pure business point of view, then I think Agile seems to me to be all-encompassing, right? Or the whole business. I can roll this out to the whole business, from my CEO all the way down to my or down in inverted commas to my deployment people. All right. For lean, I think it's just it seems too narrow, and it also seems incredibly structured and rigid and not really well aligned. Okay. Because I'm more than just a manufacturer, right? I'm a people organization. CI/CD, I think is just largely incomprehensible and just costs a bloody fortune. I don't have the architecture. I've got a whole load of legacy products, and it's just too damn hard. And DevOps, well, that's how we all started anyway. So why don't we just go back there?
When you say started, you mean operationally and?
Yeah, every small team, every small business starts as a DevOps business. Right? You do whatever to get the job done. So it's a really comprehensible thing to do, but it always seems to be narrow, but it's always talked about from an IT point of view.
Thank you. Give me back. If you could give us maybe a slightly different view, when you're talking to the board and they don't really understand all this techie stuff, how do they see it?
Well, one question I've had is, are we already agile? And I would say yes in terms of practices and services, but really it's the culture that we're thinking, it's the culture that we're changing. And it's best to not look at Agile as process, but it's actually more around how do we all actually, why can't we all just get along? Why can't we all just do what we need to do? So that kind of ties it in back into the DevOps side of things of actually, we're just here to get something out the door. What's the straightest line we can get to get it out there? My organization is DevOps and CI/CD. CI/CD is the output of DevOps, but I tend to argue that DevOps is a big cultural change because it's not a person. It's enacted by a person, but it's not actually the person itself. It's that person's the enabler. And for Lee, you've got nice canvases.
All right, so we've got about 5 minutes left. Is there any questions from the audience? Anyone want to? You have business, you have practice leads here.
It's okay. Do you guys have any bad memory or experience about reporting your strategy when you did?
Recording strategy. How do you mean? Like, how, if you have a team that's performing well, how do you then bring that into a bunch of newcomers?
No, I just mean that.
You want a horror story, right?
Yeah. I want a heartbreaking story.
You want a heartbreak story about you putting your practice in on a team.
Yes.
So this is an experience before I was in Macquarie. We tried to implement a product in Bangalore, and we actually put up the boards, the lean Kanban boards, because there was too much change coming in. They didn't know what their prioritized backlog was, so we suggested we go with the Kanban flow with planned and unplanned activities. So we asked them to kind of list down their flow of value, and they listed 20 columns. Okay. I told them reduce it to 3 and then extend it, and they started with 20, and it was a nightmare. Right? So it was too complicated, and the team said we're not writing more cards. So it will be successful. The Kanban flow can be really successful, but you need to have a very good purpose and intent behind it, and need to understand and follow people who have actually practiced. Right? If you make it too complex, people will get confused where they need to put their cards and why do they need to do that. We'll probably go back to coding rather than putting cards up the wall.
I think he wants juicy.
Okay, so I've got a fun one for you. So it was this team in Bangalore? No, we're in a bank, not this bank, another bank. You might find it on my LinkedIn profile. Now,
Be careful.
we put through saying that teams really needed to be trained, right? Everyone was really, really excited, really wants to get involved with that job, but there's just little gaps in the knowledge. So we said, look, let's actually run training for the teams, and we'll fill in all the gaps, and we'll get really great momentum. Leadership turned around and said, this sounds like a fantastic idea, we'll train them. So we put through, I think it was 50 or 60 people. Now, a particular person from senior leadership had started and had come in and, prior to the coaches getting there, had mandated an Agile board that looked very much like a Van Gogh painting and nothing like an Agile board. It was so completely useless that you could not even play noughts and crosses on. Now, the challenge was, prior to the training starting, the teams were sort of using this. The teams went through training, and during training we find out, well, what does a Scrum board actually look like? And when they realized that, well, it should be to do in progress done, and they came back and there was like 53 columns and post-it notes the size of A4 pages of paper, and there was absolutely no organization. They've sort of come back in on the first day and said, well, this is sort of completely useless. We can't actually operate on it. So we get to retro, right? The teams go, no, we'll try our best. So they did a sprint. And hands down, I think it was amazing actually the results they did. But they did a sprint and we get to retro. Now retro time is, what can we do that'll make next sprint easier? And there was this unanimous decision. Everyone's gone, We need to take the Van Gogh painting off the wall and actually put up a proper Scrum board because it's just slowing us down. We have no visibility. This is a nightmare. The very senior person who was pretty much meant to be leading this transformation walked in, and there's 20 people standing around the table and they're going, can we please modify the board because we can't actually work with this? And the leadership turned around and went, no, it's mandated, picked his phone up out of his pocket and walked out the door. Juicy failure. Don't use paintings for Scrum boards.
CICD, you always have good stories.
I know. They start with Jenkins and Bamboo.
Instead of the share a story, I think a lot we talk about today is actually the mistake we often make in our daily life, either as a practitioner or as a coach. So I actually really like that debate because to be honest, right, I experience every single day, even as an agile coach in a big organization. So, like what you just said, right, CICD is really, really hard. And as an agile coach, we also know it is very, very hard, right? So one mistake we often make is we try to facilitate some change. So we will focus on some of the easy things or the things that are very visible for the management to see, which is a good thing. You always have to show some success before you can, make some real change. But the problem is often that's where we stop. And I also find that it's very commonly people still forget about what the foundation is. The foundation is really people who are doing the work. And how we're going to make people who are doing the work life easy rather than just simply saying how we're going to make us looks fantastic in front of management or make management looks good in front of their management. So I think there's a lot of horror story behind that. So we end up seems to have been making a lot of transformation, but underneath that is nothing but you just change the package. So you probably, if you are a practitioner, you probably experience a lot around that. It's a new management phase and nothing changed. I still have to deal with my crap. And I think ultimately you respect your people, right? Respect people who are doing the work for you. So I really hate those things that you developer one equal to another developer, another one. Just like if I see you two are in the exchange for code, I hate me to saying that. So but we're doing that every single day in our daily life. And even as an agile coach, sometimes we all think change a BA, replace another BA. But I don't think we underneath we really think so, but sometimes just too hard, right? So we pick an easy way, and failure just happen from there.
Okay. So LB and I worked on the CPA transformation, and I did some work on a program that was about a person-to-person payments mobile product. It was very successful. I'm not going to name it. I'm going to tell a horror story about it. And it has to do with the lack of CICD, because I got put onto this program as coach. It was very troubled. There was a complete breakdown of trust between business and delivery, and GMs on both sides were very upset with the behaviors that they were seeing primarily on the delivery end of things. Since I trained that team, they really wanted me to go and slow down. And it was actually pretty straightforward to sort out because we introduced a bunch of product management practices that worked really, really well, and that program ended up becoming, it got one of the Group CIO Award for best program in the bank about a year later. So on the product management end, fantastic. But in the same time frame, the business realized that Agile was a game they could win. And the way they were going to win it was by using the fact that there was no CICD to get the delivery guys to spin their wheels, to do a whole bunch of hot fixing. And productivity started to crawl, and cost of quality became obscene. And that's a very common experience when we start Agile and we don't have CI/CD, you don't do BDD, you don't remix it, we've got quality automation mix. because at first it seems like, well, we don't really need it. We've got a small code base. We can get away without it. Mobile stuff will be fine. About a year in, you start to realize that we're building up technical debt, and it earns interest. And the more interest it earns, the slower everything gets, and the more finger pointing becomes the norm in the culture. And we had to do quite a lot of work with GMs on both sides before they would accept that the numbers were telling them that they needed quality automation. So I agree that it seems like something that's supernumerary. Why would I pay for this? The basic reason we pay for it is because it dramatically reduces the costs over time. And if we use modern stuff to do it, PDD, then we actually get a lot better communication, end-to-end product management, all the way through to DevOps. And there are still some gaps. We can't take the BDD example-based tests and use them to prove that our production systems are in a good state. But there are tools that are coming up to fix this as well. So in general, this is a multiplier of productivity. So even though it seems like an expensive line item, it's actually getting rid of huge amounts of risk for any piece.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to share one of the heartbreaking stories which I had recently. It was with one of my previous organization, and I was hired as a Scrum Master. And the situation was pretty critical. They wanted to build a product, and they wanted to get into the market prior to their competitor. And this product, yeah, don't get surprised with the number. They were in the planning phase from last 3-4 years. And when I was hired as Scrum Master, and I was like, oh, 3-4 years they've been doing planning? Oh, that's too much. And there was a total lack of understanding of being agile. You know, they wanted to. There was a buzzword agile, that we want to do agile. So that's the reason they hired somebody as a Scrum Master. They moved somebody from the marketing team as a product owner. And there was total lack of understanding of what being agile means, you know. And the person who was from the marketing division, she acted as a product owner, and the way she was kind of trying to pitch the product was completely different. Every now and then, she used to go to the market and get some ideas from the customers, and those ideas are always different. So every time she comes back and she tells that, yeah, we need to do this, the customer wants this. Okay, fine. The developer implements those things, and then again she takes back the product and says that, yeah, this is what is there. How do you feel it? Then again, some few customers will give some other feedback, and she again comes back. No, this is not what we want. The customers have a different feedback. That's fine. You first have a vision of the product, being a product owner, and then you get the feedback from customer, right? So there was total misunderstanding from the vision point of view in terms of product owner, and the development team was pretty small, and there were too many managers. So around there was a team of 20 people, and there were around 15 guys who were in management and architecture and whatnot. And there were just 4 of the developers who were doing development, testing, and whatnot. They were doing everything. Yeah. And I, being a Scrum Master, I was like having pity on all of them. Oh, what the hell are they doing? And the expectation from me, being a Scrum Master, was you act with the person with the stick. You know, you just give the stick and just get the work done from those 4 engineers. I was like, Scrum Master doesn't do that. And yeah, I mean, those guys really didn't have any understanding of what planning means. When I asked them to do some estimation in terms of story pointing, they give some vague points 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. What is this? I needed to explain them. This is not how estimation happens. So I had to give them training on planning poker and how does an estimation happen. But then again, when the heat comes from the top, they again fall back, you know. And they again wants the things to get done, no matter what the estimation is. It doesn't matter to us. We just need to get things done and push it to the market, and then get the feedback from customer, and we are going to change it anyways.
So you're saying that culture change needs to start with leadership?
I strongly believe that because if it's just from the top that the push comes in, it's easier to explain agile or to the teams. They are pretty much good with all these concepts of being lean, removing the waste, and they're pretty much good with it. They really want to do the good stuff. But if there's no enough support from the management, it really fails a big time. Yeah. So I really feel that yeah, the management has to be really understandable about what being agile means, not just doing part of it, because you might be doing some ceremonies and all that. That really doesn't help if you are just doing it for the namesake. So if the management is not quite supporting and helping the team understand what being means, then it's gonna fail for sure.
So I've had these guys up here for an hour and 15, so I'm going to let them go down. So if you can just give them a bit of a hand. And just give our business a bit of a hand as well for giving their feedback. And I do sympathise with you. I've heard from some people that they now have 5 coaches. There's also an organisational psychology coach that now joins the organisation. So, there's 4 developers and 5 coaches. So, anyway, I just wanted to say thank you for coming tonight. It really is good to see everyone out here continuing to learn, continue to get good feedback. Hopefully you can take some of this stuff back. Hopefully you can improve your messaging. We did record it all, so it's on a webinar, so you can play it all back to yourself, or you can get the little snippets that you're interested in. So I just want to give you guys a big thank you for coming, and I'll see you guys next time.